Something terrifying is unfolding behind prison walls, something the public rarely sees, but officers live with every day. In the span of just 24 hours, multiple violent incidents have erupted across some of Britain's most secure jails. But one attack, in particular, has sent shockwaves through the system, leaving one officer lucky to be alive and others seriously injured. What's fueling this explosion of chaos? And why are frontline staff paying the price for a system spiraling out of control? Let's break it down. But first, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more. A disturbing pattern of violence is erupting inside British prisons, one that's left staff shaken, senior officials alarmed, and the public asking, how has it come to this? In just the last 24 hours, a series of shocking assaults have rocked high-security prisons across England, culminating in what sources describe as one of the most serious attacks on a prison officer in recent memory. At HMP Woodhill in Milton Keynes, a Category B facility, a prison officer had their throat slashed by an inmate using an improvised weapon. That alone would be enough to provoke national headlines, but it's just the beginning. This attack was one of 3 serious incidents reported in just a single day. Also at Woodhill, another officer was assaulted in a separate incident, again pointing to the dangerous environment that staff are now expected to endure. Meanwhile, at HMP Gartree in Leicestershire, another Category B prison, an officer responding to what appeared to be a medical emergency was violently ambushed. A prisoner reportedly faked an epileptic fit to lure the officer in close, before launching a brutal assault that left her with a broken arm. When a second officer tried to intervene, they were attacked and had a television thrown at them. If that wasn't enough, GB News is also reporting a violent confrontation at HMP Hull last Friday. In that case, a prison officer was headbutted, had their face split open, and was disarmed of their PAVA spray that was then turned against the other officers responding to the incident. This latest wave of violence is not occurring in a vacuum. It comes in the shadow of other deeply troubling attacks involving high-profile inmates. Just days ago, Axel Rudakubana, the convicted triple child murderer from Southport, launched a boiling water ambush on a guard inside HMP Belmarsh. Rudakubana, who already ranks among the most reviled killers in modern British history, is clearly continuing his reign of terror from behind bars. And then there's Hashem Abedi, the brother of the Manchester Arena suicide bomber. Abedi has now been involved in at least 3 separate attacks on prison staff. This is a convicted terrorist serving a minimum of 55 years, yet he is still managing to coordinate violent outbursts that endanger both staff and other inmates. So what's going on? According to Steve Gillen, General Secretary of the Prison Officers Association, the situation is spiraling out of control. His words were stark and direct. Escalating levels of violence are out of control in the prison service in England and Wales. It appears that HMPPS have learned nothing. He went on to slam the government and prison leadership for ignoring repeated warnings from frontline staff, saying the prison regime must be urgently reviewed before a fatality occurs. And that warning doesn't feel hypothetical anymore. With officers being stabbed, ambushed, and disarmed, the line between injury and death is narrowing by the day. In response, the government has promised to take action. A spokesperson for His Majesty's Prison and Probation Service, HMPPS, confirmed that the injured officers from Woodhill were treated in hospital and discharged the same day. But beyond immediate treatment, what's the plan to prevent this kind of violence? The spokesperson added, "We will do whatever is necessary to keep our staff safe." The Lord Chancellor has announced a review into protective body armour and a trial of tasers in jails to better respond to serious incidents. But critics argue this is far too little, far too late. Years of staff shortages, overcrowded prisons, ideological tinkering with sentencing policy, and a surge in violent offenders have created a perfect storm behind bars. And the frontline prison officers, underpaid, understaffed, and too often unsupported, are bearing the brunt. There's now growing pressure on ministers to make rapid changes, not just with body armour or tasers, but with policy, staffing, and discipline. Because at this point, the question isn't if another officer will be seriously hurt, it's when. And if nothing changes, the next headline may not be about a slashed throat or a broken arm, but a funeral. In other news, Vladimir Putin has declined to meet Volodymyr Zelensky in Istanbul for talks on ending the war in Ukraine. The Russian president is instead sending a low-level delegation headed by Vladimir Medinsky, a former culture minister, who is now a Kremlin aide. The move has quashed hopes of a breakthrough in the conflict. Zelensky had challenged Putin to meet face-to-face in Turkey for the first direct negotiations between Kyiv and Moscow since the early weeks of Russia's full-scale invasion. US President Trump, who had said he could join the talks if a deal seemed possible, has also now cancelled his trip to Turkey. A US official confirmed the 47th president would not be traveling after learning Putin would not attend. "I know he would like me to be there, and that's a possibility. If we could end the war, I'd be thinking about that," Trump had said on Wednesday. Trump had been willing to reschedule his Gulf tour to save a lot of lives. The Russian delegation also includes Alexander Fomin, a deputy defense minister, and Igor Kostyukov, a GRU military intelligence chief. Both Medinsky and Fomin participated in unsuccessful talks between the two countries in Istanbul in 2022. Marco Rubio, the US Secretary of State, was planning to travel to Istanbul, Trump said before the Kremlin's announcement. "Marco is going, and Marco has been very effective," he said. Kyiv has said that Zelensky will refuse to negotiate with any Russian officials apart from Putin in Istanbul. The Ukrainian leader said he would wait to see if Putin was planning to turn up before deciding his next moves. "If Putin doesn't come, it will look like a complete defeat for him," Zelensky told European media outlets. He also warned that Ukraine's future as a state was at risk if fighting continued. "No one knows how long it will last, but not 10 years. Ukraine wouldn't survive," he said. Brazil and China issued a joint statement calling for direct talks as the only way to end the conflict. Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, Brazil's president, spoke to Putin by phone and urged him to attend the Istanbul talks. Roman Abramovich, the Russian billionaire and former Chelsea Football Club owner, was also spotted at a Kremlin meeting. This sparked speculation he could be heading to Turkey for the talks, having previously acted as a back channel between Kyiv and Moscow. Russian opposition analysts had speculated Putin might announce his participation at the last moment, forcing Trump to attend and presenting a Kremlin-favorable peace deal. What are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let me know down in the comment section below. If you have not yet already, make sure you do drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more British content. Thank you, take care, goodbye.